So you want to play Morrowind, but you don't know where to start? Then welcome, my fellow Outlander, to my video series covering the basics of Morrowind build crafting and how to get you set up with some simple classes to start your adventure into this absolutely fantastic game. In this installment, we'll be covering the Mage class, which is typically the class that I default to in most RPGs, if not something magic adjacent. Honestly, my ideal fit is just Gandalf. Give me that big robe and hat and I'll wear that everywhere. Now, magic in Morrowind is incredibly cool and completely wacky, so it can be a bit confusing at first. Honestly, the first mage I ever tried to make in this game made me rage quit for like 2 weeks. So in this video, I hope to explain the nuances of making a magic user that I wish I had known when I first started out. As I've said in my previous warrior guide, if you know absolutely nothing about Morrowind, please check out my ultimate beginner's guide, linked above and in the description. It goes through everything I can think of that a brand new player should know about gameplay, mechanics, how the world works, and a ton more. I won't go through all of that info again in this video, so go ahead and pause this and go check out that guide. Trust me, I'm not going anywhere. You've returned to master the arcane, huzzah! Okay, that was funny. Alright, well I thought it was funny. Alright, before we get started, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. Even a wizard needs more engagement for his magical studies to reach far and wide. And in all seriousness, I just want more and more people to find this game to play it, because it's just that good, y'all. Alright, let's get into it. And the best place to start is at the beginning. Let's first give ourselves an appropriate name for a great magic user. Now let's hop off this boat, where we'll be asked where we came from. This is where we pick our starting race. There's a few options and one major trap that new players might fall into. The first race you should look at is Breton. Breton is a very, very good choice with a solid attribute spread that would really benefit a mage playthrough. Our base attributes are as follows: Strength 40, Intelligence 50, Willpower 50, Agility 30, Speed 30, Endurance 30, Personality 40, and Luck 40. Having 50 in both Intelligence and Willpower is a really good start. Intelligence governs how much magicka we start out with, as well as our maximum magicka as we level up. Wisdom governs spellcasting success rate, since everything is a dice roll in this game, as well as magical resistance and maximum fatigue. Breton also has very good skill bonuses for magic users: Conjuration plus 10, Mysticism plus 10, Restoration plus 10, Alchemy plus 5, Alteration plus 5, and Illusion plus 5. Having a plus 10 to Mysticism, Restoration, and Conjuration is flat out incredible. We'll use Conjuration for creature summoning for additional aid and tanking in battle, as well as weapon summoning for supplemental support during combat that you don't have to carry around. Restoration will be used to restore our health and fatigue, as well as buff both our attributes and skills as necessary. This can actually get pretty crazy because you can stack various restoration spells to provide multiple buffs to the same skill, wildly amplifying the skill's power for a short duration, or a long duration if you really break it. Mysticism is actually going to be our primary offensive skill, as well as providing several key utility spells. You'd think that Destruction would be better, but many enemies in Morrowind have an ability called Reflect, meaning that there is an X percentage chance that one of your spells will be reflected back at you. However, the School of Mysticism has the spell Absorb Health, which when reflected back at you, just absorbs your own health, creating a net zero effect. Now, we'll still want to dip into Destruction a bit, especially for the spell Weakness to Magicka, but absorption spells are just flat out better. Looking at Alchemy, we'll want to make Restore Health, Fatigue, and especially Restore Magicka potions, keeping us topped up at all times. I go into a lot more detail on how Alchemy works in my Alchemy and Enchant video, linked above and in the description as well. Alteration is super useful as a utility spell powerhouse. It includes spells like Levitation, Water Breathing, and Lockpicking, which will be incredibly useful in any playthrough you choose. Illusion is also pretty useful, especially the Charm Humanoid spell. Want a merchant to sell to you at better prices? Just charm them. Want a quest giver to like you more to unlock more dialogue options? Big charm energy, man. You can do the same thing with piles of gold, but academia doesn't pay worth a damn, so we gotta save money where we can. Getting into abilities, we can see just how strong a Breton actually is. We have Resist Magicka 50 points on self, which will help us avoid detrimental magical effects from enemies and even enchanted items. This doesn't avoid elemental damage though, so we'll need to mitigate that by other means. We also have Fortify Maximum Magicka by 0.5 times Int, which gives us a Magicka boost of 50% of our Intelligence attribute. As for powers, we have Dragon Skin, which grants us a shield for 50 points for 60 seconds. This is a solid extra line of defense against stronger enemies during the early game, but can eventually be outclassed by higher level spells later on. You'll need to do some alteration leveling though to perform those, so this power is really good to have right now. As a secondary race choice, let's look at the Dark Elf, or Dunmer. This race is very flexible in terms of build variety and can basically be any class you want with a bit of work, so Mage will work just fine. Since we're in the homeland of the Dunmer, the devs definitely intended for them to be all-rounders. For our base attributes, we have Strength 40, Intelligence 40, Willpower 30, Agility 40, Speed 50, Endurance 40, Personality 30, and Luck 40. Nothing besides the speed attribute really stands out, but our points are spread out more evenly, so you're not as deficient in anything compared to other races. For our skill bonuses, we have Long Blade plus 5, Destruction plus 10, Light Armor plus 5, Athletics plus 5, Mysticism plus 5, Marksman plus 5, and Short Blade plus 10. Now I'll admit, this skill spread isn't great for a pure mage, but would make a great hybrid type character, namely a Nightblade or Assassin, considering our bonuses to various weapon types, athletics, and light armor. However, if you want to be a pure destruction focused mage, you could start off with this high skill bonus and train everything else up via skill trainers or grinding. It would definitely be an uphill battle, but it's definitely doable. I've made a few Dunmer Telvanni wizards that have been an absolute blast to play. For our abilities, we have Resist Fire 75%, a really solid elemental resistance that will trivialize most fire damage from spells or creatures. We are lacking in other elemental resistances, but we can make those up with enchanted items. For our power, we can cast Sanctuary for 50 points on self for 60 seconds. This spell causes you to be more difficult to hit with physical attacks, basically increasing your ability to dodge. This is a solid power for the early game, but you can fairly easily cast the same spell or something far more powerful using the Illusion School with not a ton of effort, so it's a bit of waste if you ask me. Now folks, you may be wondering why I didn't recommend High Elf, since they make excellent mage characters in Skyrim. Hell, I almost always play a High Elf in Skyrim, because the Thalmor did nothing wrong, but in Morrowind, they have a ton of issues. While our attribute spread is fine and our skill bonus is actually really good for a mage character, our weaknesses are pretty rough. We've got weaknesses to Shock, Frost, and Fire. Shock 25 points, Frost 25 points, Fire 50 points. Oh, and we also have a weakness to Magicka by 50 points. Now they do have a 75 point resistance to common disease and a Fortify Magicka ability bonus of 1.5 times int, the highest of any race. So there is a ton of potential to make a very powerful spellcaster, but with serious drawbacks. If you've played the game a bit and know how to mitigate these weaknesses, go for it. But I would not recommend playing a High Elf to a new player. I've made a bunch of High Elf characters and it can be a bit of a pain at the beginning of the game for sure. Therefore, for a new player, and honestly the best overall pick for a pure mage, I'm going with the Breton, for not only their Magicka bonus, but their defensive capabilities and solid skill bonuses as well. With that out of the way, let's head inside the Excise office so we can get our Magic Boy up and going. Like my Warrior Basics guide, we'll be utilizing a custom class so we can fine-tune everything to our liking. Now there are some really cool default classes like Sorcerer or Healer that would work well for a Magic playthrough as well, but it's not really what I want to do and I like to fine-tune things a little bit more. As I said before, if you haven't watched my full beginner's guide, this next part might be a bit confusing. For specialization, let's go with Magic, giving us a +5 bonus to all skills governed by magic, which are Enchant, Destruction, Alteration, Illusion, Conjuration, Mysticism, Restoration, Alchemy, and Unarmored. For our favorite attributes, which will give us an additional +10 to 2 attributes of our choice, we're going with Intelligence and Endurance. Having more Intelligence will further increase our Magicka pool, and having more Endurance will increase our health pool, making us a bit less squishy. If you feel comfortable with Morrowind's combat system, then you may want to take Willpower instead of Endurance, increasing your magic potency. For our major skills, which provide an additional +25 bonus to 5 skills of our choice, we're going with Mysticism, our main damage dealer and utility spells, Alteration, even more utility spells, Destruction, debuffs and additional damage, Restoration for buffs and healing, Light Armor as our main defense. Now you could use Unarmored instead to fully realize the robe-wearing wizard character, however, armor doesn't impact your spellcasting ability in Morrowind, and Unarmored is always going to be much weaker than any armor in the long term, maxing out at only 65 points of armor rating on each armor slot. Another reason to wear light armor is that you can wear clothing underneath it, which gives you an additional enchanting slot. For our minor skills, which provide a +10 bonus to 5 different skills, we'll go with Spear, our backup offensive ability. We want something that doesn't require Magicka just in case. It also provides a greater reach than most weapons, meaning you can hit a melee enemy without them necessarily being able to hit you. It also is governed by the Endurance attribute, meaning if you level up Spear, you can increase your Endurance attribute and your health pool. You could also use blunt weapons, which govern staves, a bit more of a thematic choice for a mage, I'll admit. They also can hold more powerful enchantments than spears, having the same reach benefit as well, but they typically do a lot less damage. It's also incredibly easy to get a super powerful spear in the early game, and it's kind of a pain to get a good stave, so it's not really my bag. Next, we want to take Alchemy for better potion making, Enchant to better use enchanted items, as the Enchant skill is tied to the number of times you can use an enchanted item before recharging. Then Illusion for a secondary kind of debuff for buying and selling items, and Persuasion. And finally, Conjuration to summon adds for tanking and for additional combat support. Alright, next we have to choose our birth sign, and there's plenty of good choices to choose from. The mage sign fortifies our maximum Magicka by 0.5 int, which is another solid boost to our Magicka pool with no downsides, and will be your safest pick for a birth sign, honestly. The apprentice sign is another good choice. It provides a fortify maximum Magicka buff of 1.5 int, but you have a weakness to Magicka of 50 points. This is a really good boost to our magicka with a drawback that can be reasonably dealt with, honestly. And finally, we have the Atronach sign, which provides 50 points of spell absorption, fortifies magicka by 2 times our int. But you have the stunted magicka debuff, meaning you can't regenerate magicka except with a shrine blessing or a potion. While the Atronach sign is without a doubt the most powerful sign, I find it better to use for a battle mage character where magic is more of a utility and a secondary damage dealer. When you're playing a pure mage and have to rely on magicka almost constantly, you'll really need to dip into alchemy to have really powerful potions to restore your magicka at all times. It's kind of a pain, but it's absolutely overpowered as hell. But for new players, it might not be quite what you want to do. For this build, we're going to go with the Apprentice sign, since we've chosen Breton as our character's race. We'll have a great boost to our magicka pool, and we can avoid the downsides of the weakness to magicka with our Breton blood. Just like in my last video, you can stop here and play Morrowind with what we've already put together. But if you stick around, we'll get into the nitty-gritty about gear, spell locations, factions, and some custom spells that'll make your playthrough a whole lot easier. And this is very much a spoiler warning.
My word, you're still here. You wish to master the arcane arts. Then let's set out into Seydanine.
Alright, I've covered Seydanine in my previous videos a bit, so we'll speed through this. Grab the limewire platter, loot the storeroom, grab Fargarth's ring, get Caius' package, give Fargarth back his ring, loot the lighthouse, and visit Ariel. God, I'm so slow. I missed my steed sign. At Ariel, sell everything but our alchemy ingredients, and Caius' stuff, of course. Then let's buy some starter spells. Go ahead and pick up all the spells he has on offer. If you're low on coin, don't worry. We can come back after a few stops to nab the rest. While we're walking around, let's grab some mushrooms. There's a starter Mage's Guild quest where we'll need 4 kinds of mushrooms that all just happen to be around Seydanine. They are Luminous Rusula, Violet Corprinus, Bungler's Bane, and Hyphafacia. I have a mod installed called Graphic Herbalism, by the way, and I highly recommend it. It just makes picking ingredients more immersive and doesn't open up a window like looting a chest does. Now head up the path north for our next piece of loot. But we're still not looking the part of a mage. How are we gonna fix that?
It's wizard time, motherfucker!
Aha! A sick robe and a beautiful hat. Now we have the fit on lock. Northwest of town along the coastline is the Samaris Ancestral Tomb. Inside, there are a few spell scrolls and some undead. Let's take them out with our destruction spells. The spell scroll should also do the trick. Inside this urn is our prize, but it's trapped. Let's equip Hearth Heal and out-heal any damage inflicted on us by the Trap enchantment. Inside the urn is the Mentor's Ring, an incredibly powerful ring that gives us a constant +10 to both intelligence and willpower. Perfect for a magic user and will last us well into the endgame. Now let's wait here to regen some magicka. Oh shit, a Dark Brotherhood assassin. Alright, let's take care of this real quick with our frost spell since he's probably a dark elf. And Nighty Night. Perfect timing too. We needed some light armor. Dark Brotherhood armor is actually quite powerful as it's from the Tribunal DLC. So it's actually going to be better than the vast majority of loot we can find, except for like glass armor. Now head back to town, and along the coast in between the tomb and Seydanine is the body of the local taxman. Grab his gold and the tax record if you want to do the associated quests. I'm in a hurry, so I'm just going to take the payout. Grab that last spell over at Ariel's, and then take the big old Silt Strider to the city of Balmora. Ah, good old Balmora. Here's where we can really get the ball rolling. First, stop by the blacksmith in the center of town to repair your Dark Brotherhood armor, since we kicked that dude's ass, and then it's time to join our first faction, the Mage's Guild. The guild hall is just across the street. Talk to Rannis Atherin to join the guild, and then loot the guild chest for valuable Restore Magicka potions, scrolls, and other such items. Then pop over to the Fighters Guild next door. Now you aren't really going to want to complete the Fighters Guild quest, but their guild chest has super useful potions, so might as well grab those while we're in the neighborhood. Then head to the northwest section of town and go into Millie Hastian's clothing shop. Hide behind that pillar, obstructing her line of sight, and then grab all the flowers she has. We'll need them for a quest later. Then head back to the Mage's Guild. Down to the lower level is going to be your home base. There's plenty of space to store loot, beds to sleep in, trainers to access, and a teleporter right by. But let's go talk to Ajira, who gives the starter quests. With our mushrooms and flowers, we should take about 5 minutes to do them all. Give her our collected mushrooms, then agree to place a fake soul gem in Galbadir's desk. We're about to make some serious coin here, actually. Head upstairs as Galbadir is walking downstairs, and then grab all of her soul gems and the limewire platter. These gems are worth a ton, with the grand soul gem being worth 60k. Be wary though, because you won't be able to use Galbadir as an enchanter after this. The game will register any soul gem you try to use as her stolen soul gems, and she'll attack you. No worries though, since there are tons of enchanters in the guild and throughout the entire world. Head back downstairs and knock out the rest of Ajira's quests. Hand her the flowers we collected, the last one you can buy off her actually, and grab the ceramic bowl from upstairs. Then find her scattered research hidden underneath the downstairs dresser and the barrels upstairs. This will reward us with some nice potions that we can make use of in the early game. Plus we've got that nest egg of soul gems funds that we can mess with later. Once all that's done, take the guild guide teleporter to the Sadrith Mora Guild Hall. Time to join another faction and our great house pick. Head out the door and down the stairs, and through the Imperial Cult facilities. Then you'll be graced with Sadrith Mora, a stronghold of House Telvanni. Definitely the coolest house filled with the worst people you've ever met. But hey, their amazing mages and mushroom towers are a killer vibe. I highly recommend you do House Telvanni in conjunction with the Mages Guild, as the rewards from both factions will make you quite powerful and will be really useful for both quest lines. Plus, you don't want to be the Archmage of the Mages Guild and still be the lowest of the low in House Telvanni. It just doesn't make any sense, really. Head north across the city to the Telvanni Council Hall. Inside, there'll be a chamber filled with the mouths of the Telvanni counselors, who speak for their wizard lords. Ask to join House Telvanni, and you're in. Other factions that could fit this build would be the Tribunal Temple and the Imperial Cult. The Imperial Cult is definitely more for like a healer type than a traditional mage, but the Temple could fit a mage character quite well, especially if you want to delve into the more mystical and esoteric magic of the Tribunal gods. And of course, definitely do the main quest and the DLCs. So now that we've got some direction when it comes to our questing, we need to fill out our spell list. And unfortunately, like higher education in the real world, it's going to cost a lot of money. So let's go make some. Take any guild guide over to the Caldera Mages Guild, then head east to the Gorak Manor. Inside, you'll be greeted to a bunch of orcs and a weird little guy. This is Creeper, a merchant that has a huge gold deposit and buys items at full price. Let's sell our stuff so we can clear out his base 5k, then wait 24 hours for his gold to restock. We can do what's called the Creeper Shuffle, where we sell an item worth more than 5k, then buy back less valuable items until we reach 5k again, then repeat the process until you sold everything off. There's actually some valuable armor upstairs in a crate too that we won't be needing. It's medium armor and we can sell it for even more coin. At the end of our impressive sales pitch, we should have about 26k, and we haven't even sold our 60k soul gem. And with our newfound wealth, it's time to buy a stupid amount of spells. This is by no means going to be a fully comprehensive list, but it includes spells that I think will be very, very useful in a mage playthrough. Alright, the next section is going to be a long one. Get some snacks, take a bathroom break, but hey, I'm going to include the spell name and its effect on screen so you can easily follow along. Our first stop in the spell buying extravaganza is the Balmora Mages Guild. Talk to Marion Dren and purchase the following: Fire Shield, Frost Shield, Lightning Shield, Levitate, Unduce's Open Door, Summon Skeleton Minion, Summon Least Bone Walker, Water Breathing, Charm Touch, Calm Humanoid, Calm Creature, and Dire Weakness Magicka. The shield spells will be good for elemental resistances from spells and enchanted weapons. Water Breathing and Levitation will be good utility spells for traversing through tough terrain or areas underwater. Unduce's Open Door will be our new lockpick, allowing us to open any lock level 50 or below. Charm and Calm spells will be good for persuasion checks, buying and selling items, and even avoiding combat with both humanoids and creatures. Dire Weakness and Magicka will be needed when we get into some of the custom spells later on. Next, let's talk to Estir Dallin in the same room. From her, purchase Bound Boots, Bound Helm, Fuddle, and Shock. These are our first two bound items, which act as summonable light armor, that unfortunately has a maximum armor rating of 80 points per piece, but also includes various fortify skill or attribute enchantments that could be quite potent actually. Shock will be used to round out our elemental damage kit, and Fuddle will be needed for another set of custom spells. Then, talk to Masseline Marion and purchase Soul Trap and Bound Spear. Soul Trap will be used for filling soul gems for our enchanting purposes, and Bound Spear can be used to summon our secondary weapon, which will give us 10 points of Fortify Spear upon cast, increasing our effectiveness with the skill. Now head over to the Balmora Temple, use the Scroll of Divine Intervention you picked up from the Mage's Guild chest if you want, and talk to the two priests in the basement. From them, purchase Mark, Wisdom, Alms of Intervention, Cure Common Disease, Recall, Vivek's Tears, Restore Endurance, Rest of St. Maris, and Magic Guard. Mark, Recall, and Alms of Intervention are most of our fast travel or teleportation spells, allowing us to traverse the game map much quicker. Mark sets a location anywhere in the world, and its sister spell Recall will teleport you back to that spot from anywhere in the world. Alms of Intervention will teleport you to the closest Tribunal Temple. Cure Common Disease and Vivek's Tear will help you deal with some of the crippling diseases that have spread across Vardenfell. Rest of St. Maris will help you keep your fatigue topped off, increasing the success chance of your spell casts. And Restore Endurance and Magic Guard will once again be used for some custom spells. That part of the video is probably going to be pretty extensive as well. After you're done at the temple, head back to the Balmora Mages Guild, and take the guild guide over to the Aldruin Mages Guild. Head upstairs and grab the scrolls in the guild chest there too. Talk to Orint Neen. Let's just call him OG. From him, purchase Telekinesis, and then go into the adjoining room and talk to Heem Law and purchase Bound Gauntlets. Telekinesis will be used to activate trap containers from a distance so their enchantments won't reach us, and Bound Gauntlets is yet another piece of our magical armor set. I'm really bad with the names in this game, honestly. I cannot pronounce half of them. Honestly, I'm really bad at it. Alright, use the guild guide once again and head back over to the Caldera Mages Guild. Talk to Media Indarin downstairs and purchase Fenric's Door Jam. Fun fact, NPCs cannot open locked doors in this game. So, if you're in a bit of a jam, door jam, you can get behind a door and lock it tight. Then, your enemy can't get to you at all. They can't unlock it. It's a cool little utility spell that gets overlooked a lot, and it's honestly saved my butt a couple times. Head back upstairs and teleport over to Sadrith Mora. Cast Mark, and then head outside. Go to Dirty Muriel's Corner Club, just outside the fort, and talk to Error de Rothril and purchase Bound Cuirass. He also has some powerful summons as well if you're interested. Bound Cuirass is the last piece of our bound armor. Unfortunately, there are no Bound Greaves or Bound Pauldron spells, so we won't be able to summon a full set like you can in Oblivion. Alright, let's pop over to the Telvanni Council House once again. Head downstairs to the very bottom before you reach the Crystal Cavern and talk to Nearest Faris and purchase Righteousness. Now this is our Absorb Health spell. We're going to turn into a custom spell that's going to be our main damage dealer. Go ahead and cast Recall on yourself afterwards, teleporting you back to the Sadrith Mora Mages Guild Hall, and then teleport over to the Vivek Mages Guild. Head upstairs, and take note of Malvin Ramori. She sells the Summon Greater Bonewalker spell, a very, very powerful summonable undead that when it attacks, casts a permanent damage strength spell. NPCs won't be able to cure this, so their attack and their carrying capacity will nosedive. It's unbelievably powerful, and I highly recommend getting it. Unfortunately, you need to be a higher level than Mage's Guild to purchase spells from her, so come back later during that quest line. Next, we're going to do a little fast traveling. Cast Almsv Intervention, which will take us to the Vivek Temple, then cast Divine Intervention from a scroll. This is going to take us to the Imperial Cult Shrine in Ebonheart, where we can buy the Divine Intervention spell. Hey, what the frick? Head downstairs and speak with Sinolian Tenufus to purchase the spell. Now our fast traveling kit is complete. There's one more spell to get that we're going to need for a custom spell list, but it's a bit more involved than the rest of them because it's only from the DLCs. We need to get to Mournhold. Luckily, we've already been attacked by the Dark Brotherhood, which starts the Tribunal DLC. Outside the main area of Ebonheart, speak to Apelles Matthias and mention the Dark Brotherhood attacks. He'll tell you to speak to Asheen Rain, who can then teleport you to the city of Mournhold. She's inside the main fortress we just left. Ask about transport to Mournhold and our issue with the assassins, and away we go. The Mournhold Palace is a labyrinth, so here's exactly how we get to where we need to go. Cast Mark on the lizard friend here, then cast Divine Intervention. Head into the Imperial Shrine and talk to Larina Maria. She sells the Fortify Attribute and Fortify Skill spells. Pick up the spells Feet of Natorgo and Masterful Unseen Wisdom. And with that, our spell hunting is complete. Cast Recall to head back to Efete, our lizard friend, who can send us back to Vardenfell, where we can then begin crafting our custom spells. I've been mentioning custom spell making for a while now, so let's really kind of get into what that means. Like Oblivion, Morrowind offers custom spell making based on your known spell list. These spells aren't restricted to only one effect though, and you can stack effects and make your spells much more potent, while also tweaking spell duration, area of effect, spell range, and min-maxing the spell cost to its effectiveness. Let's make a few spells that I always like to have in most of my playthroughs. If you have any spells that you like to use or find helpful, leave a comment and let others know too. I like to play a smart mage in video games, but I'm not actually that smart in real life, so, if you've got better ideas than me, please let me know. Our first spell we're going to call Restore All. It restores every single attribute by 1 point for 60 seconds. There are many, many enemies that can damage your attributes, and you need a potion or a shrine blessing to restore them, causing you to have to leave your current dungeon dive or expedition, and then go back to town. This spell keeps you from having to cut your adventure short. Just cast it, wait an hour, and your attributes will be back up to full. Now let's make a low-level Absorb Health spell. We want to keep our spell chance high and our casting cost low, so we'll set a range of damage from 10 to 30 points. Having a range of effectiveness will reduce our casting cost since max damage is not guaranteed. We're going to name this one Novice Vampiric Drain. As you level up Mysticism, come back and make more powerful versions of the spell, like adding Weakness to Magicka effect, cranking up the effectiveness of our Absorb Health spells. Another great type of custom spell to make are training spells. In Morrowind, your spellcasting skills level up based on how many times you use a spell, not how powerful the spell is. So you can make a super low cost spell with a 1 second duration and then spam cast it to level up the associated skill. Now let's make a better Restore Health spell. We want the restoration effect to last several seconds, effectively regenerating us while we're in a fight, while still keeping that cost low and spell chance high. Speaking of spell chance, we don't want to lose too much fatigue, so let's make a similar spell to keep that topped off as best we can. Next, let's make a spell that summons all of our bound armor at once, so we don't have to cast the spells individually, which might not be possible if you're in the middle of a fight. We'll need to level up Conjuration a bit to improve our spell chance though, so keep an eye on this one. We'll do the same thing with Bound Spear, making a very easy to cast version of the spell as a fallback weapon. For summon spells, we can make lower duration versions that have a much better cost and spell chance. I found 30-second summon times to be perfectly fine, and you can certainly create much longer duration spells once you level up Conjuration a bit. For our lockpicking, we'll make a custom spell called Open All, which casts Open for 100 points on touch. This will open almost any locked door in the game, but has a super low cast chance, so you'll need to either level up Alteration or save scum a bit to use it effectively. To get over terrain easily, I like to make a low-level levitation spell called Float, which casts levitation for 1 point for 30 seconds, just enough to get over some annoying terrain for a low magicka cost. Now for a special one, we need to create a custom spell of resist magic 100% for 1 second. Let's put that in our back pocket for just a second though. Let's do the same with the charm effect spell. We can cast this on an NPC, then immediately open our dialogue menu. While in that menu, our magical effects stay active, even with a 1 second cast time, allowing you to shop or persuade at your own speed. Alright, I forgot to make this one in the video itself, but you need to make a damage strength spell. It can come in pretty handy. Strength governs carrying capacity, so tanking an enemy's strength attribute can lock them in place, making sure they can't move around and attack you, and it'll reduce their damage output from melee. Oh, wait a second. I forgot to buy the damn Fortify skill spell. Oh, hell. Alright, hang on, I gotta go get it real quick. Cast Recall to take us back to our mark in the Mournhold Palace. Divine Intervention back over to the Imperial Shrine, grab our spell, cast Recall again, teleport back to Vardenfell, Almseve Intervention to Vivek, take the paddle boat to the Foreign Quarter, then a Silt Strider back to Balmora, then on to the Mage's Guild. Honestly, man, this happens pretty often, so having a good understanding of the teleportation magic system in this game is pretty essential. Now we can make a custom Fortify skill and a Fortify attribute spell. It would be good to have one for Mysticism since it's our main damage dealer, and Intelligence, increasing our magical pool using a magical spell. Phew, alright, that was a lot guys, but we're almost done. Our final section of the video is going to cover some additional gear that you might need to help your playthrough out even more. In Balmora, at the Trader Revere, is the Devil's Spear, a spear with the Bound Spear enchantment, and the spell Lightning Shield. I said spear like so many times right there. This is a great pick for the early game since it won't rely on your own magical pool, so you'll always have a weapon at the ready. Next, we need to head back over to Caldera. In the Mage's Guild, go into the side door on the bottom floor and up the tower. On the top is a master quality alchemy gear set that you can easily grab. Alchemy effectiveness is tied to having all 4 pieces of alchemy gear and their quality, so we don't want to make potion with 1 piece of low tier gear. For way more information on alchemy, remember to check out my alchemy and enchant video. While we're in Caldera, I'm tired of moving super slow. Let's go ahead and fix that. Head north out of town. Take a right at the fork with the Naked Nord, then a left at the next fork. Keep walking until you see a Redguard woman moving oddly quickly. Ask her about making a deal, and she mentions that she has an enchanted pair of boots that make her very fast, but they magically blind her. If we take her to Narmog, she'll give us the boots as a reward. That's great, but I'm on a bit of a time crunch, so... Before we put on the boots, cast our Resist All spell, then quickly open up our menu. When we put on the boots, we'll resist their negative effects, so now we're fast as fuck, boy! For our next item, we're going to go on a bit of a journey to the mystical tower of Telfir. Head over to the Sadrith Mora Mages Guild, then head up to the top of the tower. East of the city is the Mushroom Tower of Telfir. It's a bit of a hike, but with our float spell and our new boots, we'll be there in no time. It would help if I went to the right tower, whoopsie. Once we get there, head upstairs to the 2nd floor. Levitate up to the top, then go to the room with the wardrobe. It has a level 100 lock, so we'll need to use our Open All spell to get into it. Then, we need to use telekinesis to activate the trap without injuring ourselves. Once that's done, we can grab the Savior's Hide, an artifact of the Daedric Prince Haircene. It's a powerful light armor set with a constant 40% resist magic effect. You'll probably keep this through your entire playthrough, honestly. Back in Sadrith Mora, once again, head to the Talvoni. Hey, what's gonna handle the Spumoni? Back over in Sadrith Mora, once again, head to the Telvanni Council House. Head down to the bottom floor again, to the room with Galar Rothan. To his right is a shelf full of magical items. But you see, in Morrowind, shelving like this still acts as a solid barrier. So if we get behind it, we can steal everything without aggroing any NPCs. Very useful tip if you want to rob any of the mage lords of the Telvanni. And hey, we get some enchanted wizard robes to round out the fit. Looking good, handsome. Love it. Next, take a Silt Strider from Balmora to Aldrune, then to Nissus. Follow the river east until you run to the Fallis Ancestral Tomb. At the bottom of the tomb is a trapped urn with a powerful ring inside. Denstagmer's ring, which provides 30% resistance to fire, frost, and lightning, will be super helpful when dealing with elemental damage throughout your playthrough, and it is always a must-have for pretty much every single one of my characters. Finally, you should pick up the Daedric artifact Azura's Star, an infinitely reusable soul gem that can hold even the most powerful of souls. I won't go into too much detail about how to get the item in this video, and I really do recommend you check it out for yourself as it's a super neat quest. But if you do want more info on it and some spoilers, I cover the whole thing in my Alchemy and Enchant video. And that's it, friends. Hopefully this video will give you the information you need to give a mage character a shot in Morrowind. It certainly gave me a lot of trouble during my first go at it, and if I missed anything at all, please let me know in the comments. Listen, this game is really amazing, and the magic system is by far my favorite in any Elder Scrolls title, so I really hope people give this game a try just for that alone. But as always, wealth beyond measure, my fellow Outlanders.